But so I was a nerd, right? This probably is not surprising to a lot of people. I used to eat lunch in the band hallway alone for 2 years before I even went out into the lunchroom with anybody. And the only people that would come back into the band hallway are the other band kids, And most of them aren't cool, but a couple of them, always trumpet players, right, are actually, for whatever reason, they're the guys that also play guitar. So one of them, Cody, came back one time, and he was really hot, right? And I was, 16 at the time. I had just gotten over Accutane. Excuse me. Oh. I had just got Accutane, the acne medication. Yeah. So my skin was like translucent. It looked like I grew it in a cave, ready to mingle. And so Cody comes back into the music hallway, and the only reason that these cool guitar guys ever wanted to talk to me is because I knew music theory, and they needed to ask me a question. And so Cody comes in, he's like, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he says, "I write this song, for my band, and it's kind of a slow song, and it's got a chord I don't know." So I was like, "Okay, just play it for me." And so he started, "You and me forever. You and me forever." I don't remember the lyrics, but they were inane. "You and me forever. You and me forever." But there was a chord right there. He's like, "This is right before the second repeat of that, and I don't know. It's like a minor chord. Never, forever. I don't know what it is." Oh. So I said, "How about forever?" And his eyes lit up, and he said, "That's it." And so I reached out and I moved his little fingers, because I knew enough about the guitar to show him how to play it onto the frets. And I said, "A minor 6. And he tried it. "You and me forever." And he looked right at me. "You and me forever." Fuck. "Thanks, man. My band's Scuzz. They're playing tomorrow. If you want to come see." And I was just sort of like, And he goes, "I'll put you on the list." This was my first list. So I just sort of was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." I didn't even have anything black. The darkest I had was navy blue. So the next day I put on my navy blue, tried to be cool. And I went downtown to this all-ages punk venue called Sturgey's, next to a little cafe. The cafe was closed, but Stiggy's was rocking, at 7:30 for the all-ages show. And so I go up to the guy, the bouncer, and I go, "I should be on the list?" "Name?" And I say, "My name, Dane Terry." And he looks at the list. "Not on the list, $5. Now, it was my first car. So I'd spent, back then, $5 could get you like a week of driving. And so I was like, "I just spent all my money. I don't have $5. I was like, "Cody from Scuzz was supposed to put me on the list." And he said, "Well, Cody from Scuzz didn't put you on the list. So $5. And I was like, "Can you just check?" Because sometimes my name's Dane Terry, but sometimes people think it's Terry Dane. So if you could just, and he flashed the list to me, and there's 4 names on it, and I was not one of them. He said, "You're not on the list." So I walked away, and I was going to go back to my car, but I realized that down the alley, next to Stiggy's, between the cafe and Stiggy's, it was dark, and I could hear the music a little bit. So I walked down there, and the music got louder, the sort of and so I realized there's an open window above a dumpster. So I look around, and nobody's looking, so I climb up until I can see right in the window, right? And there's that rock and roll music getting loud. And then finally I see, and it's Cody, it's Scuzz. And I was not expecting him to be shirtless, And the way that he was sliding up and down the neck of the guitar. It was like a tunnel formed between me and Cody in that window, And I just, and you and me forever. started to feel something, you know? And he stopped the song, you know, people, you know, screamed, yeah! And then he said, okay, this is a little different. And then he says, band can sit this one out. And he just gets his guitar and he starts playing what I think is our song. You and me forever, you and me forever. And I'm waiting for it. Forever, here it comes. You and me forever. Our chord. He nails it, you know? And then he says, I love you, Tiffany. And looks out into the crowd. And in that moment, I realized that Tiffany was indeed one of the names that did make it on the list. But another sensation at that moment entered my mind. It was tickling the periphery of my awareness for some time, and now it had demanded my full attention. My left leg was sort of tickly crawling. And I looked down, and it had fully slipped into a crack on the top of the dumpster and was resting on a trash bag and was covered in very large cockroaches crawling up my leg. And I went, oh, oh, and I stumbled backwards and fell off the dumpster, fully just like, what? Now, when I flew backwards, my legs kicked out, you know, sending the roaches up with me. And then it was like time stopped. And all of these roaches just fell with me in slow motion. And the biggest one of them drifted right in front of my face. And he seemed to look at me with like pity from a cockroach. And he said, kid, what did you think your life would be? Did you think you'd be brave? That you'd be the hero, fight all the dragons and rescue the maidens happily ever after, but you can't even stay in the story. You know it's true. I know it hurts, but it's true. You're gonna spend your life waiting for flowers and songs and the glow of the moon. Just waiting for something or someone to mean something more than the passing of the days and the nights and the endless amassing of no ways and no hows or a maybe at best, but never a yes. But that's the world, kid. You try to get indoors just to scurry around on their floors for a crumb. Bum, bum, bum. That's the world, kid. You'll never get your share. Nobody even cares if you die. You got wings, but nobody knows you fly. And then the roach looked at me, and then he looked at the ground, and he said, see ya, kid, and he took off. And I hit, and the whole world went dark. In the darkness of my mind, like a little theater, a spotlight came up on one little roach in a tutu. But it was all a ruse because the floor moved And all of a sudden, underneath the dancing roach was a swimming pool, just like in Mel Brooks' History of the World. It was full of synchronized roach swimmers with little swimming suits with their 6 little leg holes cut out of them. And they all sang, "That's the world, kid. You never get your way. You'll never get your day in the sun. Dun, dun, dun. That's the world, kid. And now you're here with us, down here in the dust and grime. You got wings, but nobody knows you fly. You got wings, but nobody knows